Hi, Chris here. Thanks for stopping by my channel, All Time Jack. Today we're going to turn this chunk of mahogany and maple down into this cool little goblet, and then we'll burn in my channel name and logo as well. I made a bunch of these up a couple of years ago. I have two left, and this one here is just about the right size. Already got a tenon on it, center punched on both sides. Be able to chuck it right up. This is a 1939 Walker Turner driver line lathe. I got it from my uncle, and I've used it quite a bit in the last couple of years. Have a lot of fun with this old thing. Alright, looks like we're ready to do a little turning. I'm just gonna skim it here because it's been up there getting beat up for a couple of years. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Gonna lay out a couple of pencil marks here. I've done several of these. I kind of know where they go. I can kind of visualize it, but I still gotta have some marks on there. And now I'm just gonna go to town on it. This will be the top, and then that'll be the bottom where it goes in towards the stem. I'll round that off, and you'll kind of start seeing some shape to it here in just a second. Stop it and take a look at it real quick. I see a couple of little issues right there I want to take care of. Get back at it. I'm going to turn that radius down a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and cut some captive rings in. I'm using a beading tool. I've never used one before, and I've also never used a captive ring tool before. I usually just use this, but I saw them real cheap walking out of a wood supply store the other day, so I bought them, and I thought I'd give it a shot. They worked out okay, I guess. Now these captive rings are way too big for this piece. Just kind of showing that before you turn it down to your desired depth, you can practice on a couple. And now I'll just tape them up out of the way. We may use them, may not. We'll see in a little bit. And now we can start working on the bottom of the cup part of the goblet and the stem. And I really want it to turn back sharp towards the stem, but still maintain a good radius. Even though it's the bottom, if you mess that up, it can really look bad. And now I'm down to the correct size to do a captive ring that we're going to keep on here. And I'm back to using my carbide tool for the bead, but I'll still use the hook to do the captive ring. Once you get it down where it's about to break off, stop and do yourself a favor and sand it. I cannot explain to you how much time this will save you. And now I'll just get in there and pop it off there. There we go. And now we can get back after the cupped part into the stem and down to the base. Please give me a like and subscribe if you're into this sort of thing. Obviously you want to be very careful here. You catch a snag at this point, and there's a good chance you're going to have to get real creative with some epoxy or some glue or something. Just going to hit it real quick with some 80 grit. Remove the tape on the small captive ring. I broke the other ones off already. I'll show you here in a little bit what you can do if you want to put them back on. And now I'm going to hit it with some 120, and I've just got a Scotch-Brite folded up. And this works real well for me. You can wrap sandpaper around those little drywall sponges too. Those work real well. Do yourself a favor, and every grit you go to, stop and sand with the grain, or you will regret it. Now I'm just going to run through that rockler pack. It's 5 different grits, 150 to 600. Again, be sure and sand with the grain in between grits. Let's drill us a hole. I'll start with this 3/4 bit just because I already have it in here. And then we'll step it up to about 2 inches and then go in and shape it. So I used my calipers to determine the depth, and I marked it on the drill bit, and I'll just run it into that mark and then come back out with it and then load up a Forstner bit. These Forstner bits are great. If you don't have any, I would recommend getting some. I did step this up a couple of times to get up to a little over 2 inches. Probably could have just used a 2-inch, but I decided to step it up, and it worked really well that way. So we'll slide this out of here and take a look. So now we have a cylindrical hole. I don't want a cylinder though. I want a nice contour inside to match the outside. So let's swing this tool post around, grab another tool, and shape the inside a little bit. This is the Rockler carbide hollowing tool. It works pretty good on small stuff like this. I was able to get this hollowed out the rest of the way and match that outer contour in just a few minutes. And it turned down really nice too. I won't have to do a lot of sanding. So that'll about do it for this. I did shape it all the way through from the top to the bottom. So let's hit the inside of this thing real quick with a little sandpaper. Same thing, I just got some 120 wrapped around the Scotch-Brite. Get a little shape on the lip here. There's one spot there I couldn't quite get, so I got this big Q-tip here and I wrapped some sandpaper around there, and it got that spot just right. Don't forget the inside of the captive ring. This is kind of a pain in the butt, but you want it to look good, so be sure and do it. So here's one of them captive rings that we made earlier, and I'm just gonna slide it back on. You can see how I got it off. I just broke it right there. And if you wanted to put it back on, you can glue it back together, or you can also break a little section out and make it smaller, but I like the way just that one looks, so I'm gonna leave it at that, and we're gonna clean it up here with some mineral spirits. Get her wiped down and you can kind of see what it's gonna look like when it's got some finish on it. There's that rocker pack I was talking about. It goes from 150 to 600. Works out pretty good. I never would buy one of them for years, but after I got one, I like having one now. So we did all the turning. It's about time to do some burning. Let's get started. This is an Ortur 10-watt laser. This is actually going to be the first job from this laser. I have a smaller one like this, and then also have one on my CNC machine. More on that in a minute. So I hit fire, and that'll bring up the laser right there where it won't burn the wood. Then I'll hit frame, and it'll frame a square around the engraving area on the workpiece. You can see right there that I've already burned the other side. Let's pull up light burn and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing real quick. So the square that I'm putting around it right there is just simply to help frame it onto the workpiece. And I'm using center origin, which is where I find I usually work from. So I determined what the center would be on the workpiece, and I put some pencil marks on there. And when I hit fire, that's where you see it going left and right to make sure it's on them pencil marks and centered up. And then with it centered up, you would hit frame, and it'll frame it around, and you can make sure it's in the right place. Now we can go over and remove the square around it. Then we can go check our tool paths. I've got 4 different tool paths. You can see the corresponding colors. And then you can go over and hit start. And here we go. So technically this shouldn't work very well because that's not a flat surface. We only have 2 axes. We don't have one that will go up and down to follow that contour. So we have no way to keep the laser in perfect focus. But I think it's going to do all right. I've done some stuff like this before. If not, we'll sand it off and set it up on the CNC machine. It's just a little more work to do that, and I haven't used this one yet and I wanted to use it. So we'll see what happens. So real quick, to hook up the rotary attachment, you lose your Y axis because you don't need the gantry going forwards and backwards. You only need it going side to side. But you do need your rotary to rotate forwards and backwards, so that becomes your Y-axis. So basically you unplug the Y-axis from the gantry and then plug your rotary attachment in there. And then there's configuration and setup, of course, but it's not too bad. It worked out pretty easy. Watch YouTube videos. Alright, that's it for the burning. Let's take a look. Now that has turned out really nice. I'm really happy with that. Looks good. I can't get the lights exactly right. You'll just have to take my word for it. In person, it just looks amazing. Now I'll just erase those centering marks off I put on there in pencil. We'll chuck it up one more time, clean it off, and put some finish on it. We'll go ahead and sand it down with some 600, just kind of graze over it one time. Clean it up one last time. And I decided just to put some mineral oil on it. I was gonna put another finish on there, but I think this mineral oil just kind of gives it an old look, and it kind of stays old looking. And I like that for this project. Looky there, it's looking pretty cool. Pretty nice. Don't forget the inside of the captive ring. That'd look funny. I let it dry for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to put another coat on there, and then we'll move on to the conditioner. This is basically the same stuff. It's just a conditioner, so it has some wax in it. I think it's got carnauba wax in it and beeswax or something. And I'm just going to kind of hand buff it on there. I usually heat this up a little bit before I put it on, but it's 104 out here today. Ain't going to worry about that today. Now we're just about ready to pull it out of the chuck, cut the bottom off, and call it done. There we go. See if she'll sit down flat. Perfect. You can't see it, but I made a little jig to keep that perfectly lined up so it will come off even. Oil up the bottom here and pretty much be done. There we are. It's really turned out nice. Had a lot of fun making it as well. Please like and subscribe if you like this sort of thing. And I have several other videos you can go and check out if you'd like at Old Time Jack on YouTube. A couple will pop up here shortly. You can select from them, or you can go to my channel and select from some others. Thanks for watching. See you next time.